We first saw the Quantum Free Trainer at Home Gym Con in 2025, and getting to touch it, feel it, and use it literally met every expectation I had for that thing. You guys had so many questions when I posted that first video, and I'm happy to say that we have one of the first units that landed here in the United States. I've been using it a lot over the last 30 days to make sure that I can try out every single thing that we possibly can on this machine and bring you guys the thorough review that you have been waiting for. And I gotta tell you, using it here in the home gym, even better than it was at Home Gym Con. It's gone through a lot of small but meaningful improvements that make this incredible lever-based system so powerful. But what is a Quantum Free Trainer? Well, it's an all-in-one trainer, but not like the ones you're used to. It's plate loaded and it's got 3x3 tubing with 1-inch holes on it, but you're never gonna need a barbell with this guy. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, then how is it an all-in-one trainer? Look, it's not easy to categorize this thing, but we're gonna run into every single thing that this thing can do, can't do, and how to go about using it as well. I've used it in every workout over the last 30 days, and it has met every expectation I threw at it. But it is not without its faults. It's a compact package that has very high expectations, not just for itself, but for its users. And it's not going to provide the typical training that you're used to if you're a barbell-focused lifter. We're going to get into all the pros and the cons of this machine here, and really talk about what it's been like using this thing over the last 30 days. I'm BJ from the Iron Clinic, and this short, stout, but insanely strong piece of equipment is the Quantum Free Trainer 2. So what exactly is the Quantum Free Trainer? Well, I think it's best to describe it as one of two things. It's a lever arm system similar to many of the lever arms that you've used on your 3x3 racks all over the world. And it's also at the same time something like a landmine system. Many, if not all of you, have done some kind of landmine work in the past where you use your barbell anchored down at one end to move on some kind of fixed pivot. That's effectively what the Quantum Free Trainer allows you to do. But it allows you to do it with a lot of configuration, minimal setup, and some additional accessories that make this a true all-in-one trainer. Because if you've ever used a landmine system or even a lever-based system, you know how difficult it can be to do certain movements for certain body parts. It's just not really the optimal solution for certain movements. There are ways to get around it, and you're still certainly going to get the benefits of training those muscles when you do those movements, whether it's on a lever or a landmine system. But the Quantum Free Trainer seeks to address all of that by giving you options and versatility, not just in its lever arms, landmine. Look, we're going to be calling them lever arms throughout this video, so just bear with me here, okay? But truly understand that they are very much a landmine and also a lever arm at the same time. We've got rear trolleys for this thing that allow you to adjust those lever arms up and down and adjust the angle that those things are moving with you at. We've got 27 1-inch holes on both the front and the rear uprights. You can lock those trolleys into any of those holes. And in the front, you can insert those safety arms or any of the other included accessories into those holes to mount them there and serve as a stable platform for your lever arms. All of this configuration allows you to really set the angle that you're going to start using these things at to whatever exercise you're doing. You can get it parallel with the floor, you can get it at a low angle, a high angle, really whatever you need it to be at for the movement you're doing for however you want it set up. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And the arms themselves, they accept currently 4 different inserts. We're going to talk about those more a little bit later, but the arms themselves also feature weight horns at the rear and at the front to allow you to load weight on adequately. All of that is the heart of the machine. It allows you to do it all. But along with it now comes a cable system. It's different than a functional trainer. It's different than the cable systems you're used to using, but it allows you to do things like your low rows or your pull downs, even some bicep curls, and really hit every single muscle group, not just adequately, but fully. We're gonna dive into all of that later, I promise. So with all of that, it can legitimately do a lot of different things. We can do lever arm pressing movements. We can do lever arm pulling movements. We can do landmine style movements in literally any configuration you can imagine. Cable rows, lat pull downs, and with the right setup with this machine, using the accessories that come with it, you can even do barbell compatible movements using the included barbell attachment that inserts into both of those arms to allow you to use them at the exact same time. That's right, you don't have to use one arm at a time for every single movement. It's a really robust system. A true all-in-one trainer. Now, Glenn, the owner of Quantum, has documented for you over 65 different exercises that you can do on his website, but there are certainly way more exercises that you could perform with this machine. You're gonna have to get a little creative, you're gonna have to do some tinkering on your own. This thing's not gonna leave you wanting for versatility and variety. Now, before we dive into all of that, you obviously have to build this thing. And to just hit it right off the gate, this is one of the most well-built machines that I've reviewed this year. It's beautiful. The finish on this thing rivals the Anubis 2.0 that we reviewed earlier this year, and I told you that I loved and couldn't see anyone dethroning. The Quantum Free Trainer is right there with it. Gorgeous, gorgeous welds, perfect bolts. Everything feels like it's meant to be there and belongs together. It's not flashy though, but all the little details and all the little accents really tie the whole thing together. Doesn't rattle, none of that stuff. Its small footprint does make it look like it moves around a lot, and it does move around a little, but it doesn't move around on the floor. It's not going to fall apart. It's not going to leave you feeling unsafe. Now this thing is all built out of the exact same components. 3x3 tubing, 1-inch holes, 1-inch bolts. Literally everything on it, for like literally one bolt, uses those 1-inch bolts, and it all comes together seamlessly. Now there are some build quirks though with this thing. You see, they're big bolts. Huge, actually, and most of you probably don't have the right size tooling for this. You're gonna probably have to go buy a bigger wrench or really large sockets. But there's also these star-shaped nuts that this thing comes with. They're very large, chunky fasteners that do come with their own wrench for you to fasten them on with, but a standard impact wrench or a standard drill is not gonna help you tighten that section of it down. You're gonna need to hold that thing and use your wrench or use your drill bits on the other end. We're gonna talk more about those star bolts here in a little bit, but just know that the overall quality of this machine is impeccable. Once it's assembled, you're not gonna be left wanting for anything or questioning what you spent your money on. So let's talk about these lever arms. How do they actually work in practice? Well, like we said, if you've ever done landmine work before, this is basically going to be almost exactly the same. Just got some additional tools available to you due to the fact that these things are so adjustable, not locked into one fixed point, which is usually on the ground when you're doing landmine work. The same could be said for lever arm-based movements on your 3x3 or 2x3 racks. No fixed plane of motion on this thing in any direction. You can move in any direction at any given time with these arms. And that could be a pro or a con depending upon who you are. But right out the gate, like we said, you've got those trolleys at the back that allow you to adjust this thing up and down, and that's going to set the starting position for those arms for whatever movement you're doing. Once you lock in those safeties at the front to really allow them to rest, you're off to the races for your exercise. And the 2-point adjustment system at the front and the rear gives you enormous control on how you go about executing these movements. But it also can change how these movements feel. We're going to talk about physics here for a second, so if you don't want to stick around for that, just skip ahead a little bit here. I think this is important though, and at least a little bit interesting to think about though with a machine like this. You see that rear trolley? Depending upon where you place it, it's going to change where that movement is the hardest in the overall range of motion. When the trolley is set high, meaning that that arm pitches downward toward the front, it's close to your floor at the handle, you're going to obviously start with the handle lower, and as you press upward, you're fighting gravity in the most direct and vertical fashion at the beginning of that movement. This means that the resistance curve is bottom heavier. It's heavier at the very start or the bottom of that movement, and that's where the mechanical advantage is the worst, which from a lifting perspective is a good thing. You want to be fighting it hard, right? You can think of it like a squat. It's going to feel the hardest, the heaviest at the bottom of that movement, right? And so this is the configuration you're going to want to use when you're really looking to build strength at the bottom part of that movement, getting out of the hole, so to speak. Now, when we've got them set parallel or level with the ground, meaning the arm itself is roughly horizontal, this is going to be the most neutral and consistent setting. The weight's going to be fighting gravity, and you're going to be pushing against it with about the same amount of force throughout that range of motion. This is that baseline that we're really the most used to when we're doing our barbell or our dumbbell-based movements. Going to be the most consistent through that range of motion. There's definitely going to be some variety in there, but it's not going to be so drastic at either end of that spectrum. In reality, it's going to be the heaviest at the middle point of that movement. Now, when the trolley is set low, meaning that arm is pitching upward, those handles are towards the ceiling, that means the early portion of this lift is going to be slightly assisted because the arm wants to naturally swing back down, making the start feel a little bit lighter. The resistance, though, is going to ramp up as you move to the top of that movement. For rowing movements, this is a really interesting feeling. The weight naturally loads towards you at full extension, and that creates a more machine-like feel with strong contractions at the peak. Try for any kind of pressing or rowing movements where you want that to be the hardest at the very top of that range of motion. It's a really, really strong contraction. You're gonna love it. So to boil it all down, these trolley arm movements are an exceptional way to truly customize the weight curve on this machine. This is a level of precision and customization that you would normally see on machines that are like $10,000. I made that number up, but you get what I'm saying here. This is not something you normally see on a home gym piece of equipment. It's really something you're gonna see on those leverage-based machines that you would see in more of a commercial setting. This is gonna allow you to do so much experimentation in how you do your training and really give a lot of variety over the course of your workouts in the year. Now, we talked about the physics of the trolleys, but we also need to talk about the physics of the weight horns themselves. Because as we mentioned earlier, you've got one towards the front and you've got one towards the back. This may not be as intuitive for some of you, but placing weight on those horns is going to feel different depending upon where that weight is on that lever arm. Each lever arm has 2 sets of weight horns, like we said. Because this arm is pivoting at that trolley point at the rear, the same weight creates different amounts of torque that you're going to be fighting against depending upon where it's loaded. Your torque is going to be greater the further that weight is from the pivoting point, meaning that rear trolley. So with a little bit of basic deduction, if you've got 45 pounds loaded at the rear weight horn, it's going to feel a little bit lighter than it would if that weight was loaded at the front of that arm. So really what this means is you can load weight onto those rear horns and do much more effective micro loading. There's way too many variables for me to tell you exactly what that ratio is going to look like because it's going to depend upon so many things, including the angle that you're approaching that lift with. Just know that if you're trying to maximize how much weight you're feeling for whatever movement you're doing, using those front weight horns are going to be the best bang bang for your buck. But you can use those rear ones as well to kind of micro load a little bit, incrementally step up the weight. Rather than have to use a bunch of different plates, you could simply remove a plate from that front weight horn and move it to the rear if it felt just a little bit too heavy after that last set. Is this making things a little bit more complicated than it needs to be? I don't know, maybe, maybe not. But for some of you, especially you science-based lifters, this is going to give you a lot of stuff to play with and experiment with. And look, I'm no engineer. I am certain there's a lot more behind this than I'm even giving you insight into. This is just all based on the research and real world training that I did with this thing over the last month. So if you know more about how this weight changes on those weight horns, depending upon where you've got everything placed, please leave it down in the comments, share that knowledge. I'd love to read more about it, and I'm sure many of you would too. Now, I do want to talk about one more thing on those vertical weight horns at the front, and that's the fact that they are vertical. If you saw my review on the Squat Max over a year ago, you know how much I love that thing, but the one thing that I didn't love was that vertical weight horn. It does become a pain to load plates on and off that thing because it doesn't leave any gaps between those plates, which makes it hard to separate them. I found two things that help though. The first is just using small little feeder plates in between them. Just grab like a 2.5 pound or 1.25 pound plate, even a 5 pound plate, just put it between those bigger plates. It makes it easier to pull them off. The second thing is that no matter where those things are on the trolleys or on the safeties, once you're done with your lift, take it all the way off the safety at the front and place it all the way down at the ground. That means that weight horn is going to be at a little bit more of an accessible angle. It's going to be closer to a 45-degree angle depending upon where you have it on that rear trolley. But even if it's not, you could just raise that trolley all the way up. You've got the handle all the way down, and now you're just at about a 45-degree angle. It makes it a lot easier to take that plate off. Regardless where you put the weight though, don't worry. This thing comes with every single barbell clamp you're ever going to need. I think I literally quadrupled the amount of barbell clamps I had in the gym when I took delivery of the Quantum Free Trainer. So you've got these two incredible lever arms with a lot of customization, but the customization doesn't stop from just where you place those arms. It also continues with what inserts you use at the end of the lever arms. You see, you've got a bunch of different options to choose from. These are just two of the 4 that come with the machine, and they all come in pairs. These are the 360 handles. They rotate 360 degrees in any direction. You can't lock them in. You can certainly tighten this bolt down though to get it a little bit more stiff and not rotate as much, which is how I have it set right now. But if you loosen this bolt up, this handle will swing even more freely and really give you some awesome range of motion and movement when you're exercising. My favorite has actually been this guy. This is the belt squat attachment, but I've been using it with a bunch of different cable accessories for lots of different movements. I've been pressing with it, pulling with it, squatting with it. It's awesome. There's a lot of versatility to be had in this device, and you can rotate it in either direction to have this thing start just a little bit higher or lower depending upon the movement you're doing. I included my favorite little swiveling carabiners and also these little ropes onto this. This is just keeping that metal protected, making sure that paint doesn't get chipped or anything like that, and ensuring that this thing lasts a long time. You don't need these. It doesn't come with it, but I'll put links down in the description for you if you wanted to check those out. Apart from those, you get some 180 handles. These have rotating grips that literally will spin for you, and you can adjust them in a 180-degree arc. This is really good for your pressing movements where you want that handle to rotate with you as you're pressing through it, but you want to lock it into a solid position so it's not like able to swing a bunch of different directions like the 360 handles. And then lastly, you've got the Landmine attachment handles. This is going to feel like holding an actual barbell in your hand, just like you're used to doing if you're doing Landmine work. Now, it is slightly larger, and I mean like very slightly, maybe a millimeter or two. And I know this because I tried to slide on some of my Landmine attachments that would normally use on a regular barbell weight shaft. It wouldn't fit though. It was just a little bit too big. Nonetheless, you hold this thing in your hand, it feels like a barbell. It's awesome. You've got a lot of options here to use however you need to for whatever exercise you're implementing. Now, the last attachment is kind of its own thing. It's the one thing that didn't come in a pair, and it's the straight bar attachment. It connects into both of those lever arms at the same time to allow you to do pressing and pulling movements, really whatever you want to do. So you don't have to do single arm movements on this thing. You can do dual-handed movements, whether that's a deadlift, an RDL, a squat, a bench press, an overhead press. It's a really awesome addition. Most lever arms that you've ever used, they are independent from one another. You could jerry-rig up a way to connect a pull-up bar and make it sort of a barbell movement. I've certainly done that in many passive videos. Loved doing a sort of pendulum squat on my lever arms back in the day. But this bar is different. It's a real barbell. It has actual knurling, and it rotates. Yeah, it has bearings in it. Now the knurling, I wouldn't call it aggressive by any means. Not printed on though, like some of the other pieces that we've looked at in the past. This is definitely more of a passive knurling, but it's enough for you to grip onto and make sure that your grip's not gonna slip. It's not gonna tear your hands up in any way. But the bearings, these are important. You see, when you're pressing through that movement with those lever arms, your hands are gonna wanna rotate with that. If they don't rotate, they're gonna be locked in this weird position, and it's just gonna feel awkward. It's not gonna feel good. You may even injure yourself. But because that bar rotates, as you press through it, your hands can rotate with that movement and still allow the best ergonomics possible. If you didn't have that rotation, you're gonna be fighting a lot of stuff there. It's not gonna feel good. So the bearings allow you to move frictionless. It allows your body to move the way it wants to and needs to complete that lift. Now for me, when I was doing bench pressing, I had to do a lot of experimentation to figure out where I wanted this thing. And I know that even with more time, I would refine this even further. Personally, I set the rear trolleys at height 11 and the front safeties at height number 10. There was a slight range of motion limitation when I was using this setup. I just felt like I was right there at the bottom of the range of movement. I wanted to go just a little bit lower. It really just felt like though that the weight was sitting directly on the safeties. It was almost the exact perfect position. I just needed maybe another inch. This machine will require you to tinker with it. It's going to take some time for you to figure out exactly where the different things on this machine need to be for you to execute that movement. Just like with lever arms, it may take you a couple months to really dial in exactly what settings these need to go into, but that doesn't mean it's going to stop you from getting a good workout in right out the gate. It just means that with more time and attention, you're going to be able to refine exactly where those settings need to be for you to hit the optimal lifts that you're chasing down. I would really implore you to be using a workout notebook, period, but especially to be able to write down exactly what hole you place the safety or the trolleys at for the whatever lift you were exercising on that day. So write down your workouts, but then write down next to it, hey, I had the rear trolley at height 12. I had the front safeties at 10. And then you can write yourself a little note. I think the front needs to come up or down a little bit. The rears need to be adjusted this way or that way. It's going to make that process much quicker and much faster. And if you need a good notebook, I'll put that down in the description as well. I've got a great 365 page one. It's under $20. Just go get it for yourself. So we've got all of those things, but we don't have J-hooks. That's right, there's no J-hooks included with this because like I said earlier, this isn't really a barbell intended machine. Because it's 3x3 though with 1-inch holes, you can certainly slot in J-hooks that are intended for a 3x3 rig with 1-inch holes. They're just gonna be really narrow. At least those front uprights, they are very close together. I mean, we're talking like inches apart these J-hooks will be. Now, if you had the machine accessible on the rear, you could put those J-hooks in the back and maybe get some use out of it for things like a row or an easy bar curl. You're gonna be better off doing your benching, your squatting, any barbell-based movements on this machine. Just not gonna be using a barbell at the same time like you're used to. However, the machine does come with a cable system, but not one that you're used to seeing. Certainly not in the form factor that you're used to seeing. There is an additional lever arm. It's mounted in the center way out high, and at its core, it allows you to do lat pull downs. Very easily too. 2 additional horizontal facing weight horns allow you to slide that weight on there, connect the pull down bar, and get to the races. And it comes with that pull down bar with a bunch of different attachment points for you to hook your own attachments up to as well. With it, you also get a leg holder that's gonna allow you to do those lat pull downs and remain secure whether you're on the floor or on the bench. I found that when I was sitting on the bench, I was definitely right at the range of motion limits. I was starting to top out and not really able to get full extension, but when I used that lap holder and I was seated all the way down on the ground, I was perfect. It felt great. I was able to get full range of motion, full extension, and no problems whatsoever. And because it uses a simple carabiner system, you can hook in whatever aftermarket accessory you want or just use the included lat pull down bar. It's beautiful. It works really well. It's very reminiscent of a lot of leverage-based machines that you may have used in a commercial gym before, but you've got some additional versatility there too with how you go about using it because you can also connect a cable up to it and do things like your low rows. It does come with that low row footplate. That low row footplate will slide directly onto those 3x3 uprights, allow you to grab that handle and just be off to the races with your pulling. Feels great, feels natural. You do need the ceiling clearance because that lever arm is gonna swing up, but I found that even with my 45-pound plates, I wasn't hitting the ceiling when I was doing my normal rowing movements or lat pull down movements. This is dependent upon your setup, obviously, but you should have ample room to work with in most home gym setups. It's a really simple system. It is super simple to set up, and it doesn't have a ton of versatility in it. You're not gonna be able to do 100 different exercises with that cable setup, but you definitely could get creative with it. You could do single arm rows. You could do your dual arm rows. You could do your pull downs, single arm pull downs. You could even do curls. It's gonna give you a lot of options there. And it's nice to have that additional piece of the package built into the system. I've loaded over 200 pounds on the thing. I've had 0 issues with it whatsoever. I couldn't tell you what the official weight capacity is, and I did not find any on the website itself, but I'm confident that you'll be able to load it with as much weight as you need for your exercises and not feel any issues or concerns. It's a really cool little setup too, and I know there's more coming for it, so stay tuned for some additional cable accessories. Now, my favorite movement on this thing is a Meadows row. I love that landmine exercise, but this thing shines at really any kind of lever arm or landmine workout that you've ever seen. It really can do all of those things, and there are hundreds of different exercises that you could do on a lever arm or a landmine. The belt squat inserts are also awesome. There are definitely things you're gonna want, but the fact that you can use those safeties as a sort of starting point means you could load that weight at a comfortable starting height, walk off to the side a little bit, and do your belt squats because these arms could swing out all the way in any direction. You're obviously gonna need the floor space for that, but there's a lot of ways to configure this to make it work for you. And when you're using them, they are so smooth. These are literally some of the smoothest lever arms I've ever used. And to be fair, the market really has refined this area of home gyms. There's not a lot of innovation left to be had when it comes to making jammer arms or lever arms feel smooth, but in any direction we move these things, they feel awesome. I will say that I did some lateral raises, and it felt different, but not in a bad way. There's just some things that lever arms or landmine work can't feel as good as the actual dumbbell or cable-based movements that you're trying to replicate. I was doing these lateral raises and they feel good, but you're gonna get a lot more force pulling you off to the side. Just different. It's a different feeling, but in a good way too. So this may be a machine that if you're used to typical barbell or dumbbell-based movements or even cable setups, it is gonna require a little bit of getting used to. But I know that when you do start using it, you're going to be wildly impressed with how good it feels and how easy it is to do those exercises. While there's a lot of customization that you can do with the different handle inserts as well as where you place those arms, it doesn't require an hour to set that all up. It takes maybe a minute at most, and way less than that once you get moving and grooving. For me though, the bench press is really what requires the most tinkering around with. And that's gonna be true though for anything that requires a bench of any kind. It's just gonna be tough to get that into the perfect position to make sure that you have adequate safety, adequate range of motion, and aren't gonna be limited in any way. Once you set it up though, and you get that written down in your notebook, it's gonna take no time at all to put those safeties where they need to be, put those trolleys where they need to be, and be good to go. Because even when you have weight loaded on those trolleys, you can adjust those things super simply up and down. They glide effortlessly. Put them into the position, put that locking pin, very nice mag pins by the way, into the trolley, and you're safe, you're secure, you can do the exercise with confidence and ease. So just as my general rule of thumb, if you've ever used a lever arm or a landmine before, this is gonna feel very similar in almost every aspect, but it does still feel like its own thing, in a very good way. So what are my actual concerns with the machine? Because I do have some. First, this is not gonna be a replacement for a rack. You really just can't do barbell-based movements with it, at least not easily. It can do all the movements you're used to, just in a different manner, but if you've got any kind of rack, I really don't think this is something you should be considering. The range of motion for this, as well as the setup, are the two biggest things for me that are just things we have to be aware of. Not bad, it's not an actual drawback, but at the onset of using this machine, purchasing it and setting it up, it is going to be something that may get frustrating. It requires tinkering. It just requires time, which I really do believe is just part of having a home gym. But if you're expecting this to be something that you can set up in like 3 seconds and never have to think about it again, it's going to take a little bit more work than that. It does not require a PhD or a thesis of any kind to make sure that this thing gets set up. We talked about the ways that those trolleys affect things and where the weight is on those weight horns. You don't have to be considering all of that. You can set this thing up, you can do the movement, and again, write it down in your notebook how it felt and how you want to adjust it next time, and you're going to be just fine. But it has a learning curve. To really fine tune it for you and what you want, it is gonna take some time. So just be ready for that time investment. Know that it will take maybe even a couple months for you to really dial it in and get it to 100% of where you need it to be. But the cool thing is, like we said, Quantum has an exercise library on the website that can give you a really good starting foundation for a lot of this stuff. You can go quickly look at those videos, write those numbers down, and you're gonna be in a really good spot. But I think my biggest gripe with this thing really was the overall assembly. It's something you only have to do once, so it shouldn't be a reason that you shouldn't buy this machine. Just know what you're getting into when you put this thing together. We already mentioned those star nuts. It's a very unique, different piece of hardware. Thankfully, it does come with the tool that you're gonna need to tighten that stuff down, but those extra large bolts and those unique nuts are really gonna be difficult for some people to wrap their heads around when they first look at this thing. I don't know, maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill here. Gosh, try saying that 3 times fast. But traditional nuts to me just make more sense. I really don't know why we went with the star nut design, especially when you do need a tool still to tighten it. If the intent was to have something that you could quickly disassemble just by hand, well, I think we missed the mark on that anyway, because again, you need that tool to really tighten it all the way down and to remove them. Additionally, after I put it together, and I put together a lot of equipment, I had to take literally every single one of those off because I wanted those to be on the bottom side of it so that they weren't distracting or in the way. What I found though is that I basically had those upside down. The tool only fits on those star nuts one way. And when I looked at those star nuts, you'll see a rubber ring, and that is to make sure that that thing doesn't slip once it's tightened all the way down. At least that's what intuitively I thought that was for. Now, I'm not really sure what it's for because the instruction I received was that that thing can be on either side. So it doesn't matter if it's facing the metal or not. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but the tool itself only fits over those nuts if it was with the rubber facing towards the user. So I had to remove all of those to actually tighten them all the way down. I took it all the way off, flipped it around, and put it back on, and then actually tightened it down with the wrench. If I had known that going into it, I wouldn't have done it that way in the first place. and I would have saved myself a lot of time. But those star nuts really just leave me questioning, even to this day, why they exist. Additionally, some of the bolts came with regular nuts. I actually had to swap them around because the only way to actually tighten down those weight horns was with the star nuts themselves. So in that moment, yeah, I see why we went with the star nut versus the regular bolt. But really, it's only because those regular bolts are so big and so strong that the nylock inserts literally prevented me from tightening them down any further and making sure that it was actually secure and not wobbling around on those lever arms. It was just a bit of a frustrating process. Once it was done, it was fine. And I know those instructions can be updated and will be updated to make sure that it's as amply clear what you need to do, but it was a bit of a frustrating start to an otherwise awesome experience with this machine. So after all of that, who is this thing actually for? Well, we already said it's probably almost certainly not for people who already have some kind of rack system in their gym. I do think this is for people though who are looking to build out a home gym, who want one machine that can do everything and don't want to have to faff about with a barbell. For some people, barbells are just intimidating, and that's okay. There's plenty of ways to exercise that doesn't require you to use a barbell. The Quantum Free Trainer enables that. Lever arm training can be just as effective as barbell-based movements, and anyone who tells you otherwise is just not being truthful. That's not to say one may be better than the other, especially for certain exercises, but that doesn't mean that you can't get the same quality of workout that you can with one or the other. You can. Second is obviously going to be people who are just excited about lever arm or landmine training and really want to take it to the next level. This is going to take your lever arm and landmine training to new heights, unexplainable heights. Next up, if you've got a tight space but want some kind of all-in-one solution, this is the guy for you, I'm telling you. It's incredible how small of a footprint this thing actually takes up. I was really amazed with how small of a footprint it had once I had it fully assembled, but how stout it still feels. It's a heavy little guy, and it's got some really awesome rubber feet on the bottom to make sure it doesn't slip anywhere. You don't need to bolt this thing to the ground at all. And lastly, I think this is probably for somebody who just wants to downsize from the full rack. For whatever reason, maybe you need to get rid of it or want to get rid of it, this is going to be a really good solution for you. Cable-based systems with big weight stacks can be way more expensive than this, and they can be great all-in-one trainers, but it's still going to require you to have a barbell, and maybe you just don't have the space or the height for that. This thing is going to fit within those constraints. It's going to be a little bit cheaper, though it is still an expensive unit. It's certainly not a bargain buy, but when you do that, it's still going to give you all the same training possibilities that you're used to with any kind of all-in-one trainer or rack system. So with all that said, what's the final verdict on this thing? I love it. I really do. This is an excellent unit that I could see quite literally being the only piece of equipment in a home gym and making a lot of people happy. When we think of those things like a total gym or an all-in-one machine that has like 15 different stations on it, I feel like it's very easy to lump the Quantum Free Trainer into that group. But it is not a part of that group. It is still different. It is still distinct, and it brings itself into the home gym community with some really nice features. First and foremost, it's going to allow you to do movements that you're already used to doing or know how to do or could easily learn. But second, that 3x3 tubing with 1-inch steel means that it can play well with almost any kind of aftermarket accessory on the market. Now, are you going to be able to use all of them? Maybe, maybe not. Some of them do require 2 posts or a barbell or something like that to get the best use out of them. But for things like the Infinity Pad from Exponent Edge or numerous other attachments that just simply bolt onto the rack to enable you to do more movements, this thing can accept those, play well with them, and even just expand way more what's possible with the machine that you spent your hard-earned money on. I really like it. I still don't think it's going to be the machine for people who already have some kind of gym setup going on, especially if you have a barbell. But if you're looking for an all-in-one solution that's going to enable you to get a really good, strong workout in with limitless possibilities as to the types of exercises you can do, the Quantum Free Trainer does that. It does it really well. It does it in a beautiful package with attention to detail and the confidence to know that your money was not just well spent, but well spent on a machine that's going to continue to grow and expand and offer you more capabilities, more additional add-ons, should you want to purchase those, and more configurations as you learn more about yourself and the machine. This machine is going to take you on a really, really cool journey, and I'm excited to hear what it does for so many of you. I want to thank Glenn from Quantum Free Trainer for sending this thing over and letting me to review this thing. I've been talking to Glenn now for well over a year, and I was so excited to finally take delivery of this thing. It's been awesome to use. I've been really enjoying the change of pace in the training and how it performs, and I think you'll really be surprised too when you take delivery of this and feel it in your own hands. If you want to try it out, I hope to see you over at Home Gym Con in Louisville. I know Glenn will be there with this machine, and I know he loves letting people experience it. You got to get your hands on this thing and try it out for yourself to really experience the power that can be. If you want to go check it out for yourself, I'm going to have a link down in the description, and that'll give you all the information you need on this machine. Using that link helps support the channel as well, and you can use code Iron Clinic at checkout too to save some bucks on the unit for yourself, and again, help support the channel. I cannot thank you enough for that support. You guys are an incredible community, and I am truly privileged to be able to do this and bring this to you all. Lastly, if you have any additional questions, please leave them down in the comments. Let me know. I'll be here answering any and all of your questions and helping you making sure that you're making the right purchase for yourself or just figuring out how to best use this machine. Thanks again for being here, everybody. Keep being great, keep pushing forward, and keep getting better every day.